I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
One of the best redemption arcs in recent memory was Kanye's in 2010. Off the heels of just one of many controversial moments in his career with the infamous Taylor Swift VMAs incident, it seems like he hit rock bottom in his career. But in the blink of an eye, Ye's release of arguably his best album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, put him back in good graces and reestablished him as one of the most admired pop stars on the planet. Sure, some Swifties, well, no, not some, all Swifties still carry some resentment to this day, but the peak that Kanye hit after that release has only been matched by a few since then. Now, Kanye would ultimately return to a less favorable state, but the point still stands. That redemption arc for him was one for the ages, and I can't help but to create that connection between him and where the Memphis Grizzlies are at right now. The best word I can use to describe the Grizzlies over the last few seasons would be disappointment. With them missing the playoffs last season, along with Ja's inconsistent availability, it seemed like we were at a point where the idea of them being a true championship contender out west was slowly fading away. But at the snap of a finger, everything has changed. Enter this season, and my emotions for this team are on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. As things stand, they're sitting at the second spot in the Western Conference, and this is probably the best two-way basketball they've played since the start of the Ja Morant era. They say teams lack unique identities these days, but I would say the complete opposite about Memphis. If you're into the advanced stats and stuff like that, they're sitting right at the edge of the top 5 in offensive rating, but it's how they're doing it that sets them apart. They're attacking the paint with reckless abandon, putting immense pressure on the rim in a league where the three-point shot is king. Memphis is generating almost half of their offense from these strong paint attacks. And this high paint scoring isn't just coming from a ridiculous volume of high screen and rolls like we see from other teams. Instead, they've embraced and perfected the art of off-ball cutting. Their guys are amazing at reading and recognizing cutting angles and attacking this way. Sure, it's unconventional, but it works. And it kind of gives me some shades of that Memphis dribble drive offense that John Calipari made popular, something tailor-made for guards that love to put the ball on the floor. And speaking of guards that love to put the ball on the floor, that takes me over to none other than Ja Morant. We've had every single reason to be worried about him over the last few seasons, but he's reemerged here as the heart and soul for Memphis. To be honest, despite the issues that he's had over the last few seasons, I never questioned Ja's commitment to his team, and it's been pretty apparent by his performance. It's yet another all-star caliber season for him, filled with amazing quotables and those energy-igniting trash talk moments that we've come to love or hate about this Memphis squad. Yes, his efficiency is down and the three ball still isn't where it needs to be, but Ja's still playing the way that Ja wants to play, and his signature vibe still has not gone away. I wanted to pivot over to another player who's been one of the most underrated stars in the league, and that's Jaren Jackson. One of the more low-key storylines this past offseason was Jackson turning down a $300 million contract extension and choosing to bet on himself and his performance this season to bat for a supermax down the road. Now, the boxes he'd need to check for him to get to that supermax are pretty steep, but regardless, he's done more than enough this season to prove to us again that he is a top 5 power forward in this league. He's at 20 points per game for the second straight year, and he's as efficient as he's ever been in his entire career, putting in over 50% of his shots. Uniquely enough, he too is adding to the fleet of Grizzlies who've put a lot of pressure on the rim this season. He's doing an amazing job himself of driving defenders to the basket, a rarity amongst players at his position. A lot of that is because opponents have to respect his ability to stretch the floor and knock down shots from range, as he's draining nearly 37% of his looks from distance. His game is every bit of funky and unconventional, but damn has it been effective. Memphis fans have also come to fall in love with the role players. What is a great team without its iconic role players? There are a ton of newer faces than what we saw on that 2022 roster that made the second round. Jalen Wells, for example, example, has hit the scene as a reliable starter and has etched his name in Rookie of the Year conversations. Scottie Pippen Jr., who I am just an immense fan of, has been Tyus Jones 2.0 and has honestly been on the upper echelon of backup point guards across the entire association. Santi Aldama, Marcus Smart, Brandon Clark, and Jay Huff have also been amazing contributors. Now, is championship contention on the horizon for this particular Memphis team? I think so. I say this all the time, and I really feel like a broken record. If we look at the scope of the league right now, the title is up for grabs like never before. Yes, the Celtics are the defending champs and may pose as the best team in the league, but we said the same thing before about the Nuggets and the Bucks and the Warriors. None of them were able to defend their title or establish themselves as a perennial team to beat. There is no active dynasty in the NBA right now, and this Grizzlies team is more than well equipped to contend with the league in this state. Yes, health and availability of their stars is going to continue to be a question, as it has been over the last few seasons. But regardless, this is a Memphis squad that's ready to steer the ship back onto the path it was headed towards in 2022.